The top stories for the hour. Ethiopia and Africa Development Bank sign an agreement to mobilize 8 billion USD for Africa's largest airport. And recently endorsed law in Ethiopia helped to curb low-density plastic population. Hello and very warm welcome to EBC Wallet, the voice of Pan-Africanism from the capital Addis Ababa with the news. I'm Biniam Getana along with the technical crew and the editor. To stay tuned now, the news in full. Ethiopia has signed a major agreement with the African Development Bank to mobilize 8 billion USD for the construction of Bishoftu International Airport, said to become Africa's largest. The deal was signed in Addis Ababa by Ethiopian Finance Minister Ahmed Shide and African Development Bank Group President Dr. Akiniwumi Adesina, with top officials in attendance. Finance Minister Ahmed Shide described the project as a transformative milestone in Ethiopia's infrastructure and in the aviation industries. Dr. Adesina also reaffirmed Africa Development Bank's commitment to mobilize resources from global partners, financial institutions and investors to ensure the project's timely execution. The airport, to be built in Bishoftu, southeast of Addis Ababa, is expected to be completed by 2030. It will significantly boost passenger and cargo capacity, enhance trade and tourism, and strengthen Ethiopian Airlines' global position. Africa Development Bank will lead fundraising efforts aiming to turn Ethiopia into a major aviation hub. Meanwhile, the African Union Commission Chairperson Mohamed Ali Yusuf has called for inclusive policy making and fair resource sharing to support Africa's indigenous communities. In a statement marking the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples on August 9, Yusuf underscored the need to recognize indigenous heritage and traditional knowledge. He highlighted their vital role in cultural preservation, environmental protection and sustainable development, key goals under the AU Agenda 2063. Yusuf urged AU member states and partners to work together to empower indigenous populations across the continent.
Mercy tribe of southern Ethiopia.
There it is. Wow, that's
Welcome back. You're still on EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, as the news continues. Former UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Ethiopia, Ramzi Al-Kabarov, praised Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative as a bold and impactful action in the fight against climate change, stating that the country is becoming lungs of the planet. The former humanitarian coordinator noted that Ethiopians have planted billions of trees annually since 2019, and urged countries around the world to adopt similar bold initiatives to help mitigate the climate crisis, including extreme heat waves currently affecting regions such as Europe. He also commended the country's adoption of electric vehicles, highlighting their essential role in creating a green environment and supporting the transition to clean, sustainable technologies.
We often talk about the BRICS, we often talk about Brazil being the lungs of the Amazon, being the lungs of the planet. But I think at this speed, we soon will be talking about Ethiopia becoming the lungs of this planet. And I don't know any other place in the world where the people have been planting billions of trees. And as I recently went to do some of my outgoing and incoming briefings to some of the European capitals, and I have seen the absolutely scorching heat hitting the Europe. I was saying, my God, we need to have a green legacy initiative here now to plant the trees and to save the planet. So the call is so strong to do so. I would like to welcome all the partnerships which have been driving the innovation. It's so interesting to see Addis Ababa these days with so many electric cars driven by ingenuity of Chinese innovation, and we're seeing this everywhere, how important this partnership and bringing the green solutions to drive the transition, because this is the future. And these bold moves of Ethiopia embracing it with support of the major partners from the BRICS and bringing these new technologies here on the table and also expanding this to the rest of the Africa is so important. Very important meeting to see how we're actually linking the green legacy, how we're linking the transitions to the food security.
Al-Khabarov further called for adequate climate financing for Africa, which is among the most affected by the climate crisis, despite contributing the least to climate change.
We also need to recognize that the financial flows to the continent are not adequate. While the continent is contributing the smallest percentage of the emissions and of the climate change, it's on the taking side of this disaster. And there's no justice in the fact that the access to the climate financing and the climate adaptation is not sufficient, and we need to work on that. In that respect, I would like to welcome very much the efforts of the IFAD, and my colleagues is here, and they've been able to support some of it, but we need to put a lot more efforts in bringing the resources on the table. And to do so, we need to join hands on the innovative solutions. We need to make sure that financing is in place. This continent doesn't need aid. This continent needs partnership. It needs justice. And it's about the time that it needs to happen. And they only need to raise this voice. And as the United Nations and the partners, it's our obligation to raise that voice and to make sure that these resources come and that these resources are made available to those who are actually have the right to have them and are the rightful owner of that place and space.
And finally, Ethiopia's new law is much hoped to stop consequences of low-density plastic population. Low-density plastic population in some parts of the country is causing significant damage to people, cattle, and the environment. Sintayo has more on this.
According to the United Nations, every single day about 2,000 garbage trucks full of plastic are dumped into the world's oceans, rivers and lakes. This plastic pollution can alter habitats and natural processes, reducing ecosystems' ability to adapt to climate change, directly affecting millions of people's lives, food production capabilities, and social well-being. In Africa, a continent which produces only 5% and consumes 4% of global plastic, indiscriminate disposal of plastic waste in cities and villages has created several challenges. Low-density plastic wastes like single-use plastic bags have also become top agenda globally. Since plastic doesn't biodegrade, it breaks down into minute particles known as microplastics. These small plastic particles are found nearly everywhere on Earth. It's also found inside animals and humans, in blood and lungs. They often contain toxic chemicals, putting both animals and humans at risk for accumulating these harmful chemicals. Similarly, in Ethiopia's Dredwa city, low-density plastic waste posed a threat. The city only collects high-density plastic wastes for recycling, and the low-density ones have been given little attention.
When the rain comes, if you see the ditches, they're filled by plastic bottles. Then what happens is the flood comes to the road, and the road will be flooded with water, and it was difficult for cars to travel easily on the roads. And unfortunately, our ditches are very narrow. Once the community throw few plastic bottles into those ditches, the bottles easily clog the ditches, and the flood used to flow upward.
Plastic waste is affecting even the infrastructure, and it also affects the human health. When animals take this plastic waste, it will affect their digestion system, and then they may die because of that.
Single-use plastic is seen in several parts of the city, but largely at the outskirts, causing hazards. Dereje didn't deny to ABC World that there were limitations in plastic waste disposal and management in general, yet there have been efforts to curb the plastic pollution in the city.
We have problem with the disposing and managing the plastic waste, and you can observe when you look the last point of disposal, the landfill, you will see more plastic there. That means the plastic is not segregated before disposal to the landfill. So there are a number of problems related to that.
The study revealed there is a kind of carelessness in throwing these plastic bottles on the road. Even the hotels, the restaurants, they simply throw out those plastic bottles into the roadside, into the ditches.
What ABC World could witness in the city and in the outskirts is that single-use plastic pollutions like plastic bags, locally known as festolis, were neglected, bringing complaints to the local communities.
The plastic waste here smells bad. It often causes to us cold and cough. What makes me cough now is this smell. It has also killed many of the cattle here. The government must take action. It should stop people from dumping the waste here. People should throw it outside the village.
According to Dereje, the new federal law passed by the Ethiopian legislators to ban the manufacture, import and distribution of single-use plastic bags is largely helped to deter the problem.
I think the new proclamation will give us a good opportunity just to regulate and stop the production, the import, and the distribution of this plastic waste.
And now a recap of the top stories once again. Ethiopia and Africa Development Bank sign agreement to mobilize 8 billion for Africa's largest airport. And recently endorsed law in Ethiopia helped to curb low-density plastic population. Well, that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. You've been watching ABC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. Keep locked in with the rest of the program, and Addis Dialogue continues. Goodbye.